Hi everyone, it's Saul, and it's that time again. I am back in the Peak District, where today we're going to be taking a walk around Ladybower Reservoir in Bamford. So this is the third of these documentary-style videos I've done on the Peak District, and this time I wanted to go for something a little more ambitious, topping both the 7-mile walk I took in the first video and the 10-mile walk I took in the second. And here's what I came up with. Our journey begins at Bamford railway station, from which we'll walk along Mytham Bridge and across the River Derwent before joining the Derwent Valley Heritage Way. This is a 55-mile walking route which runs from Ladybower Reservoir all the way to the mouth of the Derwent in Derby, though we'll only be walking the northernmost section of the route, also known as the Thornhill Trail. We'll arrive at Ladybower Reservoir on the western side of the dam, before walking along the top and descending the eastern side, bringing us to Yorkshire Bridge. Crossing the bridge will intersect with our earlier path at the foot of Parkin Clough, an extremely steep hill climb which will take us to the summit of Win Hill, the highest point of today's journey. From Win Hill we begin our descent towards Hope Cross, passing Woollenall along the way and meeting Doctor's Gate, a former Roman road which runs between Brough and Glossop. We'll follow it through Hope Cross and on to Blackley Hay, where it descends towards the rivers Alport and Ashop. Crossing both rivers and the A57 brings us to the foot of Rowley Pasture, which we'll ascend but not surmount, instead skirting around the highest area and passing through Hagside Plantation, on the other side of which we find Derwent Reservoir. This time we'll descend the dam on the western side and ascend on the eastern, where we'll at last meet Derwent Lane. This is a partially paved road which runs all the way down the side of Ladybower Reservoir to Ashopton Viaduct, where once again we meet the A57. From here it's just a short walk along the A57, past Ladybower Viaduct and on to the Ladybower Inn. In total this walk will be 23.4 kilometres, or just over 14.5 miles, more than double the length of the walk I took in my first Peak District video. The highest point is 462 metres at the summit of Win Hill, though the lowest point of today's journey is actually right at the start, just 150 metres at Bamford railway station. So not only is this the longest walk I've done on this series so far, it's also the least familiar, because with the exception of the reservoir itself and Win Hill, I've never actually been to any of the places we're going to be visiting today, which is a little bit daunting, but very exciting. Of course, when walking an unfamiliar route, especially on your own, it's very important to plan ahead and make sure you know exactly where you're going. Even in a place as busy as the Peak District, if you stray too far from the more popular walking trails without planning ahead, you can easily find yourself lost and alone. So stay safe out there. So I'm currently walking along the northernmost section of the Derwent Valley Heritage Way, and this particular section, like so many footpaths in the UK, is actually a disused trackbed. This particular trackbed has been host to 2 railways over the years. The first of these was the Bamford and Howden Railway, which was built between 1901 and 1903 to supply stone from Bole Hill Quarry near Grindleford for the construction of Derwent Dam. Closed in 1914, a section of the line was later relaid as far as Yorkshire Bridge during the construction of Ladybower Dam. In 1944, the Peak District National Park Authority purchased the former line, which is now part of the Thornhill Carrs Nature Reserve. Dotted along the trail are several wood carvings depicting some of the wildlife which once called this area home, including osprey, pine martens, red squirrels, and even wild boar. The site is designated an unmanaged wilderness, and by allowing nature to thrive at its own pace, the Derbyshire Wildlife Trust hopes to one day entice some of these lesser-seen creatures back to the area. Okay, I'm starting early with the fruit shoot today. It's a much hotter day than my last trip, so I brought a couple of extras and a few Actimels as well. Just passing the bottom of Parkin Clough. We'll be going up there later. Okay, so we are now approaching Ladybower Reservoir, the first port of call on today's walk, and we're already almost 2 miles in. So, Ladybower Reservoir is actually the third and largest of 3 reservoirs in the Derwent Valley, the others being Howden Reservoir and Derwent Reservoir. It was also the last to be constructed, officially being opened by King George VI in 1945. Famously, the villages of Ashupton and Derwent were evacuated in 1943 to make way for the reservoir, with many displaced residents being rehomed in Yorkshire Bridge, a purpose-built hamlet directly south of Ladybower Dam. Though today little trace of Ashupton remains, the village of Derwent has left its mark on the surrounding area. The church's stained glass window, for example, was preserved and installed at St Michael and All Angels in Hathersage. The village's historic Packhorse Bridge was moved brick by brick to its current home at the northern end of Howden Reservoir, and even the remains of the village itself can still be seen when the reservoir is exceptionally low, which happened most recently in 2022. While the loss of 2 historic villages is certainly unfortunate, the 3 reservoirs are of vital importance. With a total capacity of over 46 billion litres, or 10 billion gallons, the reservoirs supply clean water to a vast area of the East Midlands, including the cities of Leicester, Derby and Nottingham. Okay, we're now descending the other side of Ladybower Dam towards Yorkshire Bridge. Now, there isn't really much to say about Yorkshire Bridge. The hamlet, which we won't even be visiting today, has only really existed since the 1930s, but the Packhorse Bridge it's named after, this bridge here, has been around for much longer, and despite the name, both the hamlet and bridge are firmly in Derbyshire. Okay, so we are now just starting to ascend Parkin Clough. I was not prepared for Parkin Clough. Parkin Clough is apparently a very popular hill climb with a reputation for its difficulty. The steepest section climbs over 150 metres in the space of just 600, a gradient of 1 in 4, with some portions being even steeper. Just walking up this path was exhausting, let alone jogging or running, but I managed to persevere without too much whining. This is ridiculously steep. It just keeps going. Jesus Christ, it just keeps going. By the looks of it, I haven't even got to the steepest section yet. Look at this bit. Oh my god. Oh Christ, it gets steeper. Look at that. That is almost vertical. This is the single most exhausting thing I've ever done in my life. Okay, I am not exaggerating when I say that that is the single steepest quote-unquote footpath I've ever walked. But on the plus side, we're nearly at the top of Win Hill, the steepest section is over, and it's mostly downhill from there. Okay, let's get back to it. Not much further to go now, then it'll start to level out a little bit. This is a much gentler gradient than the previous section, which I am incredibly grateful for. Look at this butterfly. Hello. What colour are you? I can't see. Got your wings closed up. Okay, now we're at the top of Parkin Clough and very close to the summit of Win Hill. Just that little bit left to go. Okay, I'm just stopping to top up my sun cream. It is only 16 degrees today, but last time I was here it was even less than that, and I still managed to catch the sun, so better safe than sorry. With sun cream applied and my first fruit shoot of the day exhausted, it was time for the final push to the summit of Win Hill. I spoke a little about Win Hill in my previous video, which I recommend checking out if you've got the time. The hill was originally known as Withenhull, Withen being an Old English word for willow, referring to the willow trees which once grew here. Despite local legend, the hill's name has nothing to do with the supposed historic battle which took place here, nor does that of its antonymously named counterpart, Lewes Hill, which lies just across the Vale of Edale. Anyway, the summit of Win Hill, marked by this trig point, is 462.686 metres above sea level, making this the highest point of today's walk, and a great place to take in the view. Hope Valley Cement Works down there. Can't seem to get away from it, it's been in every video. So we're about 3 miles into the walk right now, and I've got to be honest, we're not making good time so far. There's another 12 miles to go. This might be a good time to mention that there's only 2 buses from the Ladybower Inn to Sheffield per day. There's one at 10 to 4 and there's one at 10 to 5. So if we miss the one at 10 to 4, we've got an hour's wait. If we miss the one at 10 to 5, we're going to have to walk 3 more miles back to Bamford to get the 272. It is absolutely lovely up here, though. I don't know if you'll hear me because of the wind, but now that we're over the steepest part, it is an absolutely gorgeous day. It's a gorgeous walk. It's a gorgeous place. I know I've said it time and time again, but if you live in South Yorkshire, Derbyshire, Lancashire, get yourself to the Peak District. It's cheap, it's quick, and it's just an amazing place to explore. And over there you can see Lewes Hill, Backtor and Mamtor, all of which we visited in the last video when we took a trip to Castleton. There's a couple of sheep grazing along the footpath here. How are you doing, girls? Look at that view. I tell you, every time I think I've seen the best view in the Peak District, there's always one better. It's gotten lovely and quiet all of a sudden as well. It's getting to that time of year now where the Peak District is busier than ever. So there's been plenty of people around, plenty of hikers, plenty of dog walkers, plenty of runners, etc, etc. But I've managed to get a little bit of a quiet moment to just breathe it all in. And you can just see Ashupton Viaduct down there on the Ladybower Reservoir. If all goes well, we should be down there later today. So just up through those trees there is the summit of Wooler Knoll. There is almost no information about this place online other than its height, which is 382 metres. No idea where its name comes from, no idea of its history, so if anyone does know anything, let us know in the comments, enlighten us. Another incredible view there. They just keep coming today. Whoa. So I'm now on the path of the Roman Road, also known as Doctor's Gate, which once ran between Brough and Glossop. Interestingly, there is quite a high concentration of Roman roads and packhorse roads in the Peak District. Obviously, you've got Manchester and Sheffield, either side of the Pennines, both major population centres. So quite a lot of vital trade and logistics once came through the Peak District on roads just like this. Next I arrived at Hope Cross. This 2-metre tall signpost was erected in 1737 to mark the crossroads between the Roman road and a packhorse road which ran down into the Vale of Edale. Today, the 2 footpaths which once followed these roads actually intersect around 250 metres further north, as indicated by this much newer signpost. Oh, look at the little babbies. Hello, babbies. So I'd say we're about halfway into the walk right now, and I don't think we're making this bus. Now, I do have a slightly shorter route planned, just in case, but it does mean that we won't get to see Derwent Dam, so I'm just weighing up whether it's going to be the best option. Some more sheep here. Alright everyone. Love the eyeliner. Really cool markings on their faces, they're really cute. Very quiet section here, by the way. I haven't seen anyone else since Hope Cross. Not complaining. Like I say, it's nice to have a little bit of peace and quiet, but I'm amazed there's not more people on this particular path because it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look at this. There's two more of those butterflies I saw earlier. Absolutely beautiful. That was another one. There's quite a few of these about today. You know what? Would it really be so bad if I did miss the bus back and had to walk those 3 extra miles? I mean, I'm having such a wonderful time. Fresh air, exercise, no one in the chat calling me a bloke. No, this is perfect. This is the social media detox that I needed. Just one day away from it all. And still, the views just keep on giving. I mean, look at this place. Okay, I spy the River Ashup down there, which we'll be crossing in just a few minutes. This flows into the western arm of Ladybower Reservoir. Okay, I'm going to crack open a blueberry Actimel now. We're 2 fruit shoots down, 2 to go. The thing is, Actimel's not resealable, so I've got to drink it all in one go. Okay, so this, I believe, is the River Alport, which was diverted from somewhere further north to make way for the construction of the reservoirs. This section here is clearly artificially constructed, so it looks like it was diverted to run alongside the Ashup, which is just down there. And here's the Ashup, looking pretty low at the minute. There it is. And just like that, we're climbing again. Great. At least we get a bit of shade this time though. So this is the A57, which runs up through Snake Pass towards Glossop. But we're going in this direction towards Rowley Farm. So up there is Rowley Pasture, which unfortunately we're not going to get time to visit today because we've got to keep on walking through to Derwent Dam. But just look how high it is. Oh, I thought I was done with steep climbs for today. Okay, I think we're nearly at the top of this section, so I'm going to start fruit shoot number 3. I still haven't had my lunch yet, by the way. I did have a little snack at the top of Win Hill, but I've still got my sandwiches, crisps, pork pies, all that stuff, if I ever get time to sit down and eat them. But we are on a bit of a time crunch right now. So we're around about the 10-mile mark right now, which means we're 2/3 of the way there, but I'm absolutely going to have to sit down and have something to eat. Okay, let's see what's for lunch today, shall we? So as usual, I've got some sliced peppers and some pak choy. No leaves because they wouldn't fit. 2 wildlife tubes, 2 crab sticks, some pork pies and cheese bites, Bit of fruit and nut mix in there. And of course, the sandwich, which is a ploughman's. So all in all, while I have had a lovely walk so far, it really has taken it out of me, and there's still another 5 miles to go. So I think we've found the upper limit for any future videos. Anyway, I've had most of my lunch, so I'm going to just sit for another minute or two more, and then I'm going to get back on the move. There's so many insects around today as well, I've got to be careful. Wasps just landed on my arm. You got to remember the last time I came was April, so... Look at the size of these trees, by the way. This is a plantation, so these are specially grown for logging. And there's Derwent Dam just peeking through the trees. We made it. Derwent Dam, of course, is most well known for its role in Operation Chastise, also known as the Dam Busters Raid. In early 1943, the dam was one of several testing grounds for the infamous bouncing bombs dropped by RAF 617 Squadron on Möhne, Edersee and Zarpa later that year. Today, the dam's western tower is home to a war memorial commemorating its significance in the operation, though sadly it's not currently open to the public. And there is a memorial here for Tip the sheepdog. It would be remiss of me not to tell the heroic story of Tip the sheepdog, a border collie who, in December 1953, went out onto the moors with her master, Joseph Tagg, and was not seen again for 15 weeks. As it transpired, the 85-year-old Tagg had frozen to death on the moors, and Tip had stayed by his side until being found, alive but severely malnourished, in March 1954. She was nursed back to health and died peacefully the following year. As a monument to her loyalty, she is commemorated here at Derwent Dam. So we've just passed Derwent Dam, and I have to say I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about the last leg of the journey now. We've only got 3 miles to go, and we are on a paved road all the way to Ashupton Viaduct, where we meet the A57, and then we just follow that to Ladybower Inn. Another wonderful view there for you. I'm on my 4th and final fruit shoot, by the way. Unfortunately, it is apple and blackcurrant, which is probably my least favourite flavour of fruit shoot. Hello. And there's another incredible view. I'm amazed that it's so late into the day and we're still getting such surprising views. Look at the geese marching. And there's Ashupton Viaduct again. We're almost there. And way up there is Win Hill, where we were just a few hours ago, although it feels like days. Yes, I think I can safely say 15 miles is more than enough for one day. Not that I haven't had a wonderful time, mind you, it has been absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, my optimism may have been misplaced because this road goes on forever. Still, look at that beautiful clear water. There it is, Ashipton Viaduct. I could almost reach out and touch it, if it wasn't almost a kilometre away. So I've decided to take one last rest stop on this bench here. Unfortunately, we have missed the first of the 2 buses back to Sheffield, but there is still a chance that we could make the second. And there's time for one last incredible view. Okay, so as it turns out, when I showed you that hill earlier and said that's Win Hill, which we climbed earlier today, I was lying. That is Win Hill, which we climbed earlier today. And at long last, I finally met the A57. From here, it was just a short walk to the Ladybower Inn, and by the time I got there, I still had 30 minutes to spare until my bus home. So I did the only rational thing after a 15-mile hike in the Peak District. I went inside and bought myself half a pint of ice-cold Coke. And a slice of Biscoff cheesecake. Which was delicious. Shout out to the Ladybower Inn. And that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for joining me for not only my longest walk, but also my longest video. I really did struggle to get this one below 30 minutes, so if you've persevered until the very end, I cannot tell you how grateful I am, and I look forward to seeing you for yet another Peak District video very soon. Bye bye.